Oh, good afternoon. Thank you, organisers, for inviting me. Can you hear me? That's good. Australia, land of the long weekend or land of the long black veil, which is it to be? I'm not racist, I'm not an Islamophobe, nor am I a name caller. People who resort to name calling do so because their own arguments carry little weight, they have no substance. Islam is not a religion, it is a political ideology disguised in religion. Muslims are not a race of people, they are followers of Islam. There are approximately 600,000 followers of Islam in this country. Why concern ourselves about Islam and the minority population of Muslims in Australia? Put simply, Muslims view the world as belonging to Allah. They consider the world a giant mosque and that everyone in the world should and will be worshipping Allah one day. This mindset has not altered in the last 1400 years of Islamic history. Islamic attempts to establish a worldwide caliphate may have suffered setbacks in that time, but the agenda has never been abandoned by Muslims. Muslims have a very well thought out strategy to achieve this end, neither is it something they keep silent about. Part of the plan for a worldwide caliphate is the implementation of Sharia law, and part of the strategy is jihad. Jihad by stealth and jihad by violence. The unfortunate thing is that we in the West are totally unprepared. Why? It's because we bury our head in the sand and say it just couldn't happen here. But take a look at Europe and UK. People are migrating here because of what is happening over there. Every culture at some point in its history has displayed uncivilized, even barbaric behavior. The cultures that we consider to be civilized have addressed in the most part the undesirable aspects of their culture. Aspects that produce uncivilized behavior and have instead advanced the aspects that make them civilized. Islam, on the other hand, has remained barbaric at its core. The Quran and the Islamic writings that accompany it command Muslims to follow Muhammad, his lifestyle and his teachings. Muslims are not allowed to question those teachings. If they do, the Quran says they are to be put to death. For the first 4 months of Muhammad's career, his words were peaceful until he gathered enough men to form sizable raiding parties. From there on, his lifestyle and his words became barbaric. In his lifetime, Muhammad himself beheaded close to 800 people personally. There is a rule in the Quran that says all writings that come after supersede or cancel the earlier writings. In other words, if Muhammad happens to say something that disagrees or contradicts with what he said in earlier writings, then it means Allah has changed his mind on those things and the latter writings apply. At this point I would also like to talk about taqiyya. Taqiyya is the legitimate and sanctioned right of Muslims to lie. Put simply, if you're a Muslim, you are allowed to lie to a non-Muslim in order to further the cause. Abu Adada, Muhammad's companion, said, "We can smile in the face of some people, although our hearts curse them." Muhammad said, "Allah is the greatest of all deceivers." Muslims who claim that Islam is a peaceful religion could be, 1, practicing taqiyya, that is lying to further the cause of Islam. 2, they could be in ignorance of what their own ideology teaches, or they could be terrified of the consequences of disobeying their own religion or laws. There are many peace-loving Muslims who do not want to see Sharia law in this country. Many of them left their own countries to escape from the brutality of Sharia law. What is Islam? Islam is a political ideology that encompasses every aspect of a person's life. It is made up of government, religion, law, all melded together and all dictated by Muhammad's writings. It negatively impacts on health, safety, social life, creative, artistic life, education, family and marriage. True Islam offers no hope and no freedom. It comes in black and white. There is no colour, no peace, no progress. It has no thought for an individual's hopes and dreams. Islam mutilates and dominates its women and girls. They are considered as property to be bought and sold. Men kill their own women on a whim and in the name of honour killing. It offers no future peace in the hereafter. Even Muhammad himself did not know whether he was going to heaven or hell, on his own admission. This is Islam. This is what Muslims, true Muslims, are steadily and determinedly bringing into this nation by stealth and by violence. What is Sharia law? The law that says if you steal, you must have your hand severed. If you are a child bride and bring embarrassment to your husband, you can have your nose and your ears cut off. If you are a woman and are raped without having 4 male witnesses to the crime, you can be jailed, you can be executed, or die at the hands of family members in the name of honour killing for having sex outside marriage. UK has about 80 Sharia law courts where a woman's testimony is considered to be worth half that of a man, and the list goes on. A man can have multiple wives and child brides. Once again, they are following the example of Muhammad, who at the age of 51 married his last wife, a child 6 years of age. He had sex with her when she was 9 years old. What about jihad? I mentioned jihad by stealth. Muslims are encouraged to migrate and peacefully take up positions in places of influence such as government and civil service and other arenas of activity in the host country, much the same as Russian spies during the Cold War infiltrated American society and blended in as Americans. The Department of Immigration is an example where Muslims in high positions presented the immigration of Christian and other persecuted minority groups from Islamic countries while authorising the immigration of disproportionate numbers of Muslims. The Imam of a large mosque in Australia threatened one Pakistani Christian man and told him if he converted to Islam, then his wife and his children could come quickly to Australia. The man did not convert, and it took another 2 years for the family to come. The Australian fraud squad had to investigate and deal with corruption before the family could be brought to Australia. When the percentage of Muslims in the host country reaches a certain level, Muslims start to make demands. Small ones at first, such as the segregation of public swimming pools and toilets with Muslim-only zones, because they consider us to be infidels, and infidels unclean. This has happened down in Melbourne. We have Muslim no-go zones as in Auburn, in Sydney. The Islamic Council of Australia has approached the Australian government twice already to have Sharia law implemented as the law for those Islamic zones. The government to this date has said no. However, the Labor government had sanctioned the distribution of educational material that has been introduced in state schools. This book, produced by the Islamic Council of Australia, is promoting Islam as a religion of peace, Muhammad as a man of good morals, and teaches young students how to become Muslims. Takia working overtime. Freedom of speech. 2 Christian pastors were taken to court by the Islamic Council of Victoria for teaching the truth about Islam. They were charged with religious vilification and fought a 5-year battle for freedom of speech. During that time, there were firebomb threats, their children were threatened with kidnapping, and there were death threats from these so-called moderate Muslims. The pastors won the case and won freedom of speech for all Australians. We still need to see all offence legislation removed, though. Speaking the truth is a function of democracy, and 18C allows offence to win over truth, so it must be removed. Jihad by stealth keeps company with jihad by violence. Europe has approximately 850 no-go zones that spew violence and terror out on the rest of the populace. They are actively encouraged to do this from within the mosques. Secret footage emerged of a well-known Muslim cleric in Europe publicly saying that Muslims should be peaceful, but once he was inside his mosque, encouraged them to keep up the good work and make more bombs. Terror is their form of control and subjugation. France can't even send non-Muslim police into those areas for fear of death. If you are a non-Muslim, you stay away from those areas. 100 years ago on New Year's Day, 2 Muslim men declared jihad on a picnic train carrying 1,200 passengers at Broken Hill. They shot and killed 4 people and wounded several others before being shot and killed by the police. The two men had left notes explaining that they were responding to a call to jihad issued by the Ottoman Caliphate on 11th of November 1914. Mullah Abdullah said that his intention was to die for his faith in obedience to the Sultan's order, and Muhammad Gul wrote, "I must kill you and give my life for my faith. Allahu Akbar," apparently in reference to Quran, Surah 9:11. What about integration and embracing Australian values? Muslims are the only group who will not and cannot truly integrate into a host country because of their agenda and their ideology. This clearly shows us why multiculturalism is a doomed ideal. We cannot accept all people on the basis of their we can accept all people on the basis of their ethnicity. We cannot accept changes to our laws that bend in favour of unacceptable cultural behaviour. We should be multi-ethnic society. We cannot safely be a multicultural one. I repeat, the Islamic agenda has not changed in 1400 years. Look at the Martin Place siege, look at Charlie Hebdo, look at the many violent attacks in the name of Islam. Jihad comes in many sizes: individual jihad, as in Martin Place, jihad by bands, as in Al-Qaeda, and jihad by campaigns, which uses armies dictated by the Caliph. Islamic State falls into the last category. Daniel Nalaya was one of the pastors who fought the vilification charges in order to retain our freedom of speech. He lived in Saudi Arabia under Sharia law for 2 years, and he understands the danger of ignoring Islam. Daniel went on to start a political party called Rise Up Australia because politicians were not taking steps to safeguard the security of Australians. This battle for the freedom of our Aussie culture needs to be fought at all levels, most particularly in the political arena, and that is why I became involved with this party. Daniel has written a book called The 21st Century Culture War in the West. It describes the very real battle we are fighting and what we need to do in order to protect our Aussie values. We are rallying to reclaim our right to be free in Australia, free from political correctness, free from paying halal taxes that support terrorism, free to celebrate Christmas and Easter publicly, free to hold on to our Judeo-Christian values as a nation, free to speak out against wrong agendas. Keep standing for a free Australia. Thank you for your time.